Okay, so we'll continue on. So, you cannot access any other oscillators if you have, well, you can if you have alternate pulse wave, but not unison. Once you start getting up into the unison part, cancel that. There is no oscillator FM. Very sad. I love that type of feature, right? Most synthesizers have that feature. I don't understand why this one does not. So starting on oscillator 2, we'll have pulse width modulation, saw triangle. We have this cross 3 pulse width modulation, so it's like cross modulation. And then there's the X1, so crossover 1. Oscillators at 0. Extremely loud. So we'll get into the 3. Okay, so we'll jump. So those are the only selections that you have on there. And once again, if you have cross modulation going on, you can still move it around and get to other oscillators. Now, oscillator 3 has square, saw, triangle, external, and feedback. And you know what external is. We plug something in and process it through the VCA and everything else, but it doesn't do what I thought it did and what one would think it would do. Alright, so we'll get into that. Feedback, you know what that's making a feedback loop. So I'm assuming you take one of the outs and go back in. I wouldn't recommend it at high volumes because you may rupture your brain inside of your skull. I wouldn't recommend that. Be very careful because this is analog. This will melt you. Okay, so let's jump up. Well, let's jump down to the LFO. LFO functions. You only have speed. You can only control for LFO 1. You can only control speed and shape. And like I said, we get into the traditional shapes, but then the traditional shapes with clocked. There is no random, there's just sample and hold. So sine, triangle, saw, square, sample and hold. And then we have the clocked versions. The LFO2, speed and delay. You can also choose the glide rate, so we'll get into that. And then the glide mode is normal or finger or off. And F non. Not really sure what that means, but whatever, right? Okay. Envelope filter. Traditional attack, decay, sustain, release. Very limited. You can't change the attack level, so how high it peaks out. And there's very limited options on envelope selection. So attack and decay and decay and decay, which makes it a loop. You can also set it to re-trigger 3, 2, or 1, and single 1 and 2. Okay, same thing for the amplitude envelope. I need not go through that. The same exact selection is there. Arpeggiator, you guys already know what that is. I don't need to walk through how that works. We know how arpeggiators work. I don't use them, and funny thing is, I actually don't know how they work, except for they make patterns, and you can do a chromatic sequence and make phrases, and so on some sense you can do chord phrases and other stuff like that. So I kind of know how they work. I just personally am not a user, but I was told that I'm missing out and I need to get into them. And maybe I've used them in the past, but I didn't know because that was at one time very ignorant to synthesis. Okay, so the VCF, the filter, cutoff, resonance, envelope amount, and then of course the types: low pass 12 and 24, band pass 12, and then high pass 12. That's it. That's all you get. You have key tracking, and you have velocity. VCA, same thing. You have drive curve. Excuse me. So you have tube, you have none, tube, or fuzz. You have panning. You have noise introduction, so noise generator, and volume and velocity. So that would sum up the functions. And then the mod matrix. This tape's getting a bit long. I'm not really fond of these selections and destinations. You know what I mean? For destinations and sources and stuff. But we'll get into it. I don't want to keep going on and on. I just wanted to walk through the layout, the general user interface. You know what I mean? I'll be right back, guys. I'll catch you.